0000, or Zero for brevity's sake, is fundamentally a game of yesteryear, but ironically enough, that makes it oddly refreshing. Nostalgia is a funny thing. One could look at Zero and see a minimalist, 1-bit, cowboy-themed platformer. I see childhood. I see the fundamental platformers of Xbox Live and even the C64. Both of these statements are true to me. I believe I see childhood because I want to see it. I want to feel like I'm playing N+ with my friends back in 2008. I want to feel like I'm playing Super Meat Boy or VVVVV. Not only does Zero learn from these, it holds its influences on its sleeve. The entirety of the base game was made by developer Alvarop, and all music was made by Levi Bond. With a team this small, I almost feel a personal connection to them, through a shared nostalgia, a shared love of old school platformers. Although perhaps somewhat pretentious, this shared love of N+ in particular was prevalent with my time with Zero. The gameplay loop is something that is heavily inspired by N+. It uses long jumps, coupled with no fall damage and lots of spikes to force you to think carefully about your next jump. Despite having to think about your next move, it is in no way a slow game. It expects you to make mistakes in those jumps, and doesn't even require you to press a button to respawn. Instead, it implements a fascinating mechanic for it. The entirety of one playthrough is 100 levels back to back. Once one is finished, or you die, it automatically sends you to another level. The key is, it doesn't have a predicted path for you to choose. After each death or win, it sends you to one of 100 levels at random. As you die or win, most likely die, you start to understand how the levels work, what makes them tick. It's fascinating like this, almost more a test of memory than reactions. The level design in this is also great and clearly takes inspiration from N+. The levels feel varied and unique, especially considering the amount. This makes your second or third playthrough just as interesting as you slowly become better and better. The main character also has a gun, but for the most part, I didn't use it. I found the game much funner trying to avoid enemies quickly as opposed to gunning them down. All these gameplay factors come together to make a satisfying yet challenging romp into 2010 style platformers. The gameplay wasn't quite as tight, though it still does feel great as its influences, but understandable given the team size and price point. It also doesn't have much content past the 100 level standard mode. You can finish it on your first try with fairly minimal platformer experience at about an hour to an hour and a half. Personally, I would have loved to see some multiplayer additions, perhaps utilising the gun, and maybe even a level builder to challenge your friends. One such thing that is great with friends is the hardcore mode. In this, you get one life, that's it. A great hour or so could be spent passing the controller back and forth after each death to see who can get the highest levels in a row. Mine is 11, let us know if you do better. The atmosphere in Zero is something I love. It features a great electronic soundtrack featuring nice melodies and blast beat style electronic drums when needed. The entire soundtrack is just over 5 minutes long, yet those 5 minutes are used to great effect, switching from one song to another, often seamlessly. With hours of play time in this title, I've still yet to get bored of it, and I'm currently listening to it as I write. This builds up to the atmosphere in question. It's dark, both through colour and sound, yet fascinating. Its monochrome visuals feel like a design choice rather than out of necessity, and it works in Zero's favour. Its lack of story and flashy visuals tells the player upfront what it is. It's not deep, it's not trying to tell a story, it's there to have fun with, and at its price point, reflects as such. I've not played the original Steam release, but I enjoyed this one a lot, so it's reasonable to suggest Ratalaika have done a good job with the port to Xbox One, PS4 and Switch. My time with Zero was short but sweet. I had a great time making my way through 100 levels, and although there is some replayability to be had by improving skills and trying hardcore mode with friends, it is ultimately very short. One can complete the entirety of story mode in around an hour and get every achievement in just about 30 minutes. Despite this, I hope it doesn't become a game for achievement hunters to rinse and leave. I hope people play it for the reasons I enjoyed it. It feels like a game created for the love of 2000s platformers, and it deserves that same love in return. Although I really like this game, I wouldn't feel right giving it any higher than what I have given it, considering the content available. I personally feel it is worth the price point, but it is a little bit expensive for the amount of content you get. Nonetheless, I'd love to see where this is taken in the future. Our pros this time around are tight gameplay, smart level design, great music, and it's ultimately just very fun. Our cons, on the other hand, are not enough content and a little expensive given the price. For these reasons, I've decided to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. My name is James, this is the Xbox Hub, and make sure to subscribe for more content.